folks, I think I went and did something on the back end that managed to mess up my feed. So it looks like it dropped the connection entirely. So my sincere apologies about that. Yes, I'm not quite sure what happened there, but thank you guys for rejoining. A little bit of a tech issue, my fault, I'm sure of it, because I started doing something and then I somehow managed to kill the feed. So my apologies for that. But yes, we will discuss this particular topic in tomorrow's show, because I think you need to kind of get mentally prepared to even have that discussion. So thank you guys so much for jumping back in on the stream. I appreciate it. So that's one of the things that I've got lined up for you this week. And of course, if you missed Elvis' interview the other day, by all means, you can go back to our Facebook page under the video section and have a look at that interview. You know, it's got almost 7,000 views already. And like I said, you know, having a chat or discussion with Elvis is always a super interesting time. Good morning, Lizette, and my apologies to all of you about the situation with the stream. I do believe that was user error, so that was completely my fault just now, why the stream was lost. So yeah, 6.8 thousand views on the Elvis video, and we had a very frank and open discussion about things, you know, on the BRAC, life on the BRAC, and kind of how that is, and you know, from his perspective, some of the things that he has, had to deal with in his lifetime. Very interesting story indeed, and he was very honest. You know, he talked about the fact that he has been to jail 4 times, and he owned up to, you know, yes, those were warranted, and, you know, the things that he had done wrong and what he was involved in. And, you know, at the end of the day, we all live lives that are full of mistakes and poor decisions. And, you know, we have to be accountable for when we make those decisions and they fall out from those types of situations. So, I really enjoyed speaking with Elvis in person, one-on-one, and I think that it will be, you know, more interesting things to come from Elvis as we progress through our discourse with him. So tomorrow morning, that's going to be a very interesting show. Make sure that you tune in for that. I was sitting here scrolling the news feeds, as I often do when I'm on the air, to see if anything new is happening, if there's any breaking news. And of course, something came up about President Trump. Now, as you guys know, the Americans are getting ready to go to the polls in November. So they are very much gearing up for their upcoming election. And the general consensus is that it is Biden's to lose. So in other words, he's got a lead, but listen, do not ever feel comfortable with polls and these leads, you know, but he's got a bit of a lead. And that means that Trump really has to work hard. Well, Trump is working hard, except I don't think he's working particularly hard to really win the average person's vote, like not the sensible person anyway. So good morning, Sue. Thank you so much. Yes, I had a fabulous time in the BRAC. We were talking about that early in the show. Good morning to Marshall as well. So Trump has made some comments over the last couple of days that made me kind of shake my head and go, what is this guy talking about? One of the comments he made during his, so there was a Democratic National Convention, and then there was a Republican National Convention. And during the Republican National Convention, Trump actually said that he has done more single-handedly for the African American community than any other president, to advance the African American community, than any other president since President Abraham Lincoln. And I was thinking, what did Trump just say? Clearly, the man is delusional, and he must not have people around him that tell him the truth, because, yeah, that would not be the truth at all. So I don't know why he thinks he's done more for the African American community than anybody else. But he's also said things like, that no one ever heard, that Abraham Lincoln was a Republican until he pointed it out. So he's kind of special. He's kind of special in that regard. So it's just unbelievable, I think, the comments that he makes. And so I was reading this morning, and then, there's this situation. I haven't really been following this too closely, but I do know that there were some protests in Kenosha, um, which I don't even know where is Kenosha, by the way. Which state is that in? I've so not been following this, but I do know what happened in terms of police shot a man, I think 7 times in the back. And amazingly, he survived, and he may be paralyzed now for life, but he did survive. And so this young man went out with this, it looks like some kind of AK-47 or some kind of high powered rifle during the protests. And he actually shot and killed multiple people. So now he is in custody and he'll be facing murder charges. And apparently, President Trump made the statement that the suspect, Kyle Rittenhouse, was a victim and that he was attacked, which is definitely not what transpired from all of the news footage and stories that I have read, that I've seen. So again, this is the kind of thing that really makes you wonder, where does President Trump get his news from? And where does this information come out of? Only God knows. I do not know. I'm just like flabbergasted at the facts that he engages in. So thank you guys. Oh, it's in Wisconsin. Thank you so much for that, Louis and Marshall. Marshall says he's an idiot. He speaks without facts. He doesn't listen to any of his advisors. And I think that, to be honest, some of his advisors are probably not the smartest anyway, because it seems like they are advising him when they should probably be seeking professional advice themselves. So he does have a new person, a new advisor who is involved in the COVID response, his COVID response team. And, he's going to be working with that. But apparently, he is pushing this agenda of herd immunity, which everyone has said, all of the scientists and experts, have said that that is just crazy. So yeah, I don't know, you know, I don't know how well that's going to work out for them. They've obviously been having some serious issues. But speaking of COVID, Jamaica continues to struggle with its COVID response. So we've had a number of stories over the last couple of days about the situation in Jamaica as it relates to COVID. And what I can tell you is it's not looking good, folks. It really isn't. They have had record numbers. I think one day they had 100 and something infections reported that day. And then they continued to see, the numbers increase. So triple digit spike in Jamaica's COVID-19 cases, 245 new cases recorded. And this was on, let me tell you what day this was. This was just like, I think yesterday. Yes, this was yesterday. So one of the peculiar things with Jamaica is, I did mention last week that they had some test results that unfortunately, continue to they have some test results that continue to be a problem for them. And so I don't know what this is. So yeah, so triple digits. So this is the largest now on Sunday, August the 30th. I said last week, I was mentioning that they had information or test results that were like a month out. So they were still waiting. There was a delay of a month. And I don't know why that was, but there was a delay of a month why they were waiting on some test results to come in. So I don't know what portion of the 257 or 245 new cases were cases from previously, this backlog, but they're saying the largest single day spike occurred on Sunday, this past Sunday, and they had an additional coronavirus death. So 245 cases, according to their Ministry of Health and Wellness, in the past 24 hours, bringing the island's total to 2,357. So in the last 2 to 3 weeks, they have had a humongous spike in their cases. The latest casualty of the virus was a 28-year-old woman from St. James. So again, we keep talking about the fact that this virus does not discriminate against anyone. And in fact, the reality is that it will take the young and the old just alike. I mean, obviously, the elderly community is always more at risk, but they are not, the younger people are not immune from dying from this disease. This coronavirus has shaken, the world and communities around the world. So this is quite shocking. They have over 1,300 active cases, 1,374, including 14 moderately ill patients and 4 critically ill patients. And of course, this is starting to take a toll on their medical systems there. So good morning to Karen, Kenosha, Wisconsin. Thank you so much. Good morning to Marshall. Marshall agrees that some of the advisors are just as crazy as Trump. Okay. All right, folks. So I've just been reminded that I have booked myself. Occasionally I do this. Over the weekend, I was so busy. I booked myself for a 9 o'clock appointment this morning, and I've just been reminded of that. So I do need to hit the road. The person just thankfully sent me a message reminding me of the appointment. And of course, when I was booking it, I wasn't thinking, I've got a show that lasts until 9:15. So I will be ending the show a little bit early tonight, but you know what? Because we have an evening show, we're going to make up for that this evening. But again, the situation in Jamaica, we're keeping a very close eye, watch out for, because obviously, as Caymanians who are so incredibly closely connected to Jamaica, it does concern us that we're literally right next door. It's a 45-minute airplane ride. And we have a lot of Jamaicans here. And as soon as our borders reopen, we'll have an influx of people from all over the world. So is it going to be the case that Jamaica is going to be on the high risk list, which means that people will not be able to freely go back and forth without being subjected to the quarantine? Given what I see happening in Jamaica, I think that that's a very likely possibility. And I don't see any measures being taken that is going to give me any comfort that Jamaica is going to have this under control anytime soon. So we will continue to monitor this and to keep an eye on it. They do have elections coming up September the 3rd. They did implement something about curfew, which obviously isn't working for them. I mean, they've not had, I don't think, a single curfew that has worked. I saw video footage as well of some people being subjected, like police were ticketing people for not wearing their masks. So now the wearing of masks is mandatory in Jamaica as well. Folks, tune in this evening. We'll continue to dig into this. We'll look at the COVID situation. We're going to look at a few interesting tidbits in terms of news here in the Cayman Islands that is happening locally. And of course, like I said, we are coming up on the political season. So we're going to start to have more and more political candidates here on our program. as we delve into those conversations. Like, we need to know who these people are that are running for public office and how they intend to represent us. We're going to pick apart what they're saying. We're going to fact check some of the things that they have to say. By the way, big shout out to the premier of the Cayman Islands, Alden McLaughlin. I did see him on uh, Saturday in the BRAC. Like I said, he did go up for the funeral of Mr. Sammy Jackson. And so he was there in the BRAC. And what can I say except shout out to him? We did have a quick word. And, listen, I don't, we have been critical of the premiere on the show as we've been critical of many other people, and it is nothing personal. One-on-one, Alden is actually interesting to talk to. He's an okay person. I have no issues with him. But, there are times that you got to set the record straight and you've got to discuss what you've got to discuss. And so hopefully he doesn't take it personal. I kind of feel like sometimes he does, but when I see him, I'm like, hey, how are you? And he's like, oh, yeah, I heard you were here. And I said, well, I heard you were coming. And there it is. There you have it. So no ill feelings at all. And we will continue to tell you the cold, hard truth regardless. Folks, thank you so much for tuning into the show this morning. My apologies for having to cut it a little bit short, but tune back in at 7 o'clock. And tomorrow morning, we're going to be talking about fraudulent marriages in the Cayman Islands. Make sure you tune in for that one. Have a beautiful, super productive, and safe day, and I'll see you back here at 7 o'clock.